This needs to be said. All the while we're keeping it real, yes. There's so much to be said.
Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today on This Needs to Be Said. It's been a long time since I talked with our next guest, and we were in the podcast world together and became friends, not just associates in business. And when I asked her to be on my show, and I'm going to tell her how I found her in just a second, I was excited because she responded right away. I felt like one of the big shots have smiled down on me. Miss Rustie MacDonald has helped me in many areas of podcasting over the years. Now we're on TV, and as I always do, the people who help me in one area of my life, if I can bring them with me in another area and we can share a mutual, spotlight, I would like to do that. Any opportunity I have with people who help me, I would like to extend that back to them. So that's what we're here for, and to get caught up because I haven't talked with my friend in a while. So welcome to This Needs to Be Said, Miss Rustie MacDonald. How are you?
I'm very well. Hi, everybody. Thank you so much. I was so excited to get your email the other day. I was like, yay, I get to talk to Catherine. It's been a very long time.
I always wondered, Rustie, how do people get on those big lists that come through my email to be interviewed? And there you were. I could have inboxed you on Facebook, I know, but I was like, she's on this big list. I'm going to go. I'm going to follow the instructions.
You could have just called me.
I know. It felt big to me. I said, she's doing something, and I definitely want the opportunity to help share your message and to get caught up with you. So I'm going to shut up for a second, and I want you to tell me everything.
Oh, girl, you got weeks, months, years?
Okay, well, tell me an abbreviation of everything.
A synopsis. Wow, everything from beginning to end, or I don't know. I don't even know.
Well, let's start with what you're working on now, because you were on this interview directory list for people to interview you about work that you're doing. I know you've written books. I know you've produced shows. I know you're a mom. And, you know, there's so much more like this there, but the specifics. What's new for you right now? So
in the last 3.5 years, we transitioned from New England to Florida. And for those, I don't know.
That's the last time I talked to you.
Right. That was we were fighting a 9-year custody battle. Mm-hmm. In that time period, I ended up going to jail. He used the system so eloquently and so dirtily that he had me put in jail for 4 days. From there, we've just been trying to rebuild after all of that trauma because he just kept coming after. And you remember, I mean, he's very aggressive and he has the money to do so. So part of what I do is I talk about poverty, I talk about homelessness, I talk about the abuse in our legal system and how it needs to change. There's a huge gap in a lot of our society, and if these things can change, I think domestic violence would end or be dramatically reduced if we can change poverty. We could change child abuse dramatically if we were to close the gap on poverty. So that's really, I think, always been my big fight, even when I was 3 years old, saving food for the people standing in the same food line that I was. It's something that I'm very passionate about because I know it can be fixed. And I know that with enough people and enough education and enough understanding, we can gather and actually, that's one thing we can actually physically fix very quickly. But people have to know, people have to understand.
Yes.
So yesterday, and you know how passionate I am about this. Yesterday I was reading the news, our local newspaper, and I live outside of Sarasota on the Gulf of Florida. Beautiful, I love it here. And there is a church that collaborates with the local libraries to make sure that children in the community still have meals.
Okay.
School's out, so where are they going to get their food? This little community, and it's a little community, fed this summer alone 35,000 children.
That's awesome. That is awesome.
It's terrifying. 35,000 babies.
Yeah, but they were able to.
They were able to eat, and that's a blessing.
I hate that it's that many that need it, but I'm glad there was someone meeting the need. So
with education and with proper formation, we shouldn't have to worry about 35,000 children. We're a very small community. So
yeah.
And this isn't their caregivers, this isn't the people that brought them to lunch, it's literally children under 18, school age. Broke my heart and really pissed me off.
I'm with you on that.
Lord, it's unnecessary. And I honestly, truly believe that if we can figure out how to get the banks separate from our economy and not running our economy, then
we have to just create a new economy, because that is a conversation in itself.
It is.
So with you being here today, and my topic being affordable housing.
Oh, Lord. You're
exactly.
Really started, aren't you?
And your numbers aren't much different from the Charlotte numbers. I mean, a smaller community, it still has a very big problem. So it's anywhere in the world that you could be, we face the same issues, and everybody wants to take care of something. They want to do something. And it's nice to think, oh, I can help Rustie's community because my community is okay. But that's not the case.
It's not the case, no.
In front of your face. And how do we become a part of the solution? So talking about poverty, talking about abuse, talking about systems that are spoiled, broken, not properly working, not doing what I think they should be doing, helping.
Exactly.
What are some of the things that you've gone through? And I want to know, give me one thing that you've gone through in this category as we're having this conversation of seeking solutions, and what happened to you if it was something that you did not like or it did not work well for your situation moving forward. What would you have liked to see happen? But then let me throw this on you too, as we're thinking of scenarios. If you have a scenario that did work, you say, okay, this is the time the system did work properly. We can share that as well, because I'm not against a system. I'm not against structure. I'm not against something working when you and I can't decide among ourselves what can work, because that's what I think the system is for. The judicial system is to help me when you and I can't talk anymore. I can't figure out what Rustie wants. Rustie don't want to know what I want. We need a mediator, not someone to pick a side. So it's a loaded conversation, and you've been through so much in the past few years that we've talked. So you can either pick a good or you can pick a bad. But I'm asking you to dig in your bag of experience and share with me.
Woo. So that's very loaded, as you know. And I write a lot about it on my medium.com space. I'm a featured author on medium.com. And I talk a lot about the pain and the agony and the hope and the humanistic aspect of being a single mom, abused, living in severe poverty, actually homeless at one point. And the things that I ran up against, I don't have resources, I don't have family, I don't have those things that a lot of people have, but not everybody. Yeah. And it's surprising how many individuals take their resources for granted. I get it all the time where people are like, oh, can't you get your aunt or uncle to help you?
All you got to do is.
Right. All you got to do is, right. There's wonderful things. And I think my biggest objective is to educate people as to the reality of the situation. It's not, I don't want you to feel sorry for me because I'm awesome. I love life. I'm the crazy unicorn lady.
You are awesome.
Yeah. And life is good and it's beautiful. Yeah, you stub your toe every now and then, but it's still good. I want people to understand the reality of the situation. And one of the largest things that I went up against, the first time I had ever applied for welfare, I'd lost my job. I was being evicted 1 month after. I'd lived there for 3 years. Rent was always on time, lost my job. She was definitely not somebody who would work with you. And I went to apply for welfare, not even knowing what that is. And the young girl who was the case manager, explained to me how I deserved to be homeless because I was taking my daughter away from her father, and denied me all benefits, and we were homeless. And it's that ideology, it's that assumptiveness, it's the not knowing what feet are really in those shoes that makes this world convoluted, makes things a lot harder and a lot challenging. And I was already embarrassed and ashamed to have to go and apply, because there's such negative connotations to this process. But then to be denied because I was taking my daughter away from her father, that was the reason why I was denied. And it blew my mind. You hear on the media, you hear on the radio, you hear everywhere, in the newspaper, oh, people are taking advantage of welfare and blah, 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 blah.
Like you can just go get it. Like it's a take one, a freebie. You can just get it, and there's no struggle to get to it. Just go get you one. All you have to do is.
Right. It's like a Pez dispenser, right? You just put it ahead and magic, money. And it's not even remotely like that. And I was very shocked because, again, here I come from this background where, oh, it's easy to get on welfare. You can get food stamps. They'll help you with rents, blah, 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 blah. You'll get Section 8 housing. You and your daughter don't have to work.
Guaranteed. Yeah, you got a kid, you're good.
Right. No. It is a bleeping nightmare, and it's very abusive. They don't like their job. I've never met a group of people that hated their job more. And in the state of New Hampshire, where all of this transpired, there's a place called the welfare office where you have to go to get help with rent.
Okay.
And so I'm going down the list of things that you can get, which is not true. I go to the welfare office. I have to bring my resume, my ID, all of this stuff. And the woman at the welfare office looked at my resume and said, "Why can't you get a job? Go and get one." And that was that. So we remained homeless. It was like, I've applied to 715 different positions, and I've even had to dumb down my resume so that I could get an entry-level position and lie.
Yeah.
And I still can't get a job because there are more people looking for jobs than there are jobs available, minus things like the fast food industry, which is really financially geared for younger people that don't have as much responsibility. That's a nice way to put it.
Yeah.
And I appreciate the take whatever you can get idea or attitude, but there's a realization behind even doing that.
Yeah.
So most of the way we've structured our economy is really set us up to fail in a lot of ways.
Mm.
And you don't fully understand it until you're committed to understanding it. And being homeless gives you a big commitment to understanding, right?
Yeah.
You're paddling up Blank Creek without a paddle. And when you're not educated in that particular arena, you have this ideology because of what the media feeds you.
Mm-hmm.
Stuff is easy, and that they're going to roll out the red carpet. You don't have to worry. It's not like that. You go through a lot of verbal abuse to just get food stamps.
You know what we should do?
What?
We should do a skit where we go in and we pretend that we're I'm in. Because what you're saying, it may not be every person's experience, and maybe maybe I embarrass easy, maybe my feelings get hurt easily.
Oh no.
I don't know what all I'm supposed to know to just be able to get stuff because I have kids automatically,
right.
Housing. Like I was a single mom as well, and you have these struggles, and somehow it's your fault. You got yourself pregnant. You got yourself
right.
into this situation. Right. You did it.
You left your man.
Yeah. I mean, what was wrong with you? What were you thinking? And it doesn't matter, what was going on. Oh, you had to worry about your feelings and protecting the safety of your children. So you chose to be homeless and poor for safety's sake. Don't you know that doesn't make any sense? Why would you do that?
I still, to this day, even after all of the work that I've done, I mean, this has been 10 years of work between the podcasts and TV and the news and all of these places that I'm at. I mean, I'm very transparent about my story. I still, to this day, 3 days ago, I think it was, I had posted on medium.com, and I was ridiculed for wallowing in my story, and why can't I just get over myself? And I found it very, at first it was shocking that somebody would even have, why spend the time being a schmuck, right?
Yeah.
But people do. But then I had to look at it and I'm like, wow, you really put some more gasoline in my tank. Like, I'm ornery already.
Yeah.
Right? And I would love to participate in building skits that help people navigate and not feel ashamed. Because when you walk out of those places, you feel like a piece of
shit.
Okay, I don't know if I could swear.
I have another 11 o'clock show. We're going to be on late at night. I know that we are covering this information. And I felt,
hallelujah.
Yeah.
All right, cool. Yeah, I mean, they really make you feel like you're the worst person on the planet. Yeah. And I understand that I understand that you should be humble, and that I always have been. I understand that this is a privilege. You know, this is taxpayer dollars, but I was also an employee since I was 10 years old. Oops.
Yeah.
That was back in the time when you could be, before they put restrictions.
You have to be old enough for that.
But, you know, I would absolutely love to collaborate on something like that, because there's so many people who lose more of themselves in the process. I'm too feisty. God just made me full of piss and vinegar. So, you know, bring it. I'm going to conquer it. It might take me a while, but bet you I'm going to do it. And that's a good thing, and it's a bad thing. I mean, honestly, living under a bridge doesn't sound unappealing right now when you look at the rents.
No, I'm thinking, like, how do they get up there when I'm out riding? I'm like, how do they get up there? Because one of the things I didn't do good as a child is creek jumping and climbing. So I'm thinking, at my age, you know, if I had to, how could I get up there? How does this work? You know, learning how people are learning to survive. I died somewhere in between not knowing that life could happen to me and seeing somebody else knows how to survive. I would have starved to death. I would have definitely got my things taken from me. Like, I don't even know how you function if I had to truly be unsheltered. Now, living with someone is one thing, but having to be exposed to all the elements of the world, gosh, I don't know how I would make it. It's very ugly and it's very brutal. And you already feel like crap about yourself and your situation. And then you're losing everything because you can't keep it. You just can't. It's not realistic to hold on. Because you did something wrong.
Right. And then when you try to find a job, where do you put your stuff? When you're working, where do you put your stuff? You can't. You can't have both. It's one or the other. So as you get deeper and deeper and deeper into homelessness and poverty, I was very fortunate. I had a car, so I could lock my stuff. I could lock myself in there. Yeah. Did I sleep? About 2 hours, 2-3 hours a night. And then what does that do to your psychology? Your psychological and your emotional is already heightened. And lack of sleep brings it even further. Yeah. People don't understand that. People don't understand how hard that is. And when you're there, it's hard to get out of it. It's like, it's almost like you're sinking in a ditch and you're trying to get up. And every time you do this, you're actually digging a bigger hole. Yeah. And so these resources, so there are these resources out there that you're supposed to be able to get if you meet these guidelines. which you would think homelessness would meet those guidelines.
Yeah.
But there's hell to pay, you know, and there were times in that part of our story where I was like, why did I even leave my abusive husband? I mean, I just honestly, I should have stayed.
You start to ask yourself the questions that have been asked to you. What were you thinking when you did that? Well, before you ask that question, safety, better choice, recognizing this is no longer for me, any of those things. And so in between the reality of actually living in the situation and then saying, okay, there's a way to get out. I remember as I'm volunteering, you would see a card maybe the size of the palm of your hand that gives you tips on how to escape if you're in a domestic violence situation. And on that card that stands out to me, make sure you have $50 cash. Now, that's been a while since I've seen that card, but where is this person going and where are they going to be able to hide for $50? So you got to put together and you're now leaving. So you start thinking, well, every day with them wasn't bad. Everything wasn't all that bad. Maybe I could have, because now you're thinking, is this worse than what I was going through or not? You do begin to question yourself. You lose yourself because in our lives, we're constantly discovering ourselves, and then life happens, which it does, whether it's a sickness, a job loss, not being able to choose where you are going to exist. If you are not able to make choices because resources are limited for whatever reason. And then you have people that say, well, if you can conceive a thing in your mind, it can happen. And I believe it, but everything sounds so simple. Just change your mind and it'll be fixed. But it's a going through process that is left out of the conversation. And when you, in the beginning of the conversation, you said people take their resources for granted. And the problem is they don't even know that they're taking it for granted, because if someone else, the person that's criticizing the situation, had to go through what you're going through out loud. Because a lot of times people are going through the same thing, but since it's not them having to be exposed, they can criticize you. But if they were truly understanding that this is the process, you know, somebody's going to judge you. Somebody's going to say you've done something wrong. That's the only reason you're in this situation. You knew better, and this is the consequence. I believe in cause and effect, but also sometimes my foresight doesn't go so far. I don't know 10 years down the road if this lifestyle or this person or this area or this job is going to work for me or still be here.
Right, exactly. And we're not in the generation of IBMers anymore either. You don't start one job and work it the rest of your life.
No.
We have become such a consumer that we consume our employees. And that's a different show.
That is.
But I mean, if you think about it, we consume our employees. And I remember when I was in the situation, I grabbed any waitressing job I could get. That I'm good at, right? And that you don't need a degree, blah, blah, blah. And every time I went in for a shift, the owner of the restaurant would sit us all down and tell us how worthless we were, how he doesn't need us, how he's going to charge us for silverware if any more becomes missing, and how we need to shut up and do our jobs. As soon as you walk in, and that's what you get every single shift.
Wow.
But you take it because that's all you can get. So again, another show, but we consume our employees, and we don't treat people with respect or dignity anymore. We've lost the sense of dignity, and we don't rally for each other like we need to. And if we look at our political climate, you know, so that's a different show as well. But in that process, I've learned to speak up, which is something coming from a narcissistic marriage. Every time you spoke up, there was a consequence.
Oh boy, yeah.
You learn not to speak up because it's just easier not to. 17 years of having to rewire who I am as an individual. And it's been wild. It's been a wild ride. It's been a lot of fun to get to know who I am as a person outside of all that stuff. I don't know if that answered any of your questions, but
it answered. Well, we definitely took the, when things don't go quite the way you should, because you begin to look at, wait a minute, I thought it was easy to do this. I thought, okay, if I find myself in this situation, this is my fix for that, and I should be able to go on, you know, down a different path. And of course, I'd like to tell this person I no longer want to be involved with you, and they say, okay, and go on about their life and let me be in peace. But that's life is like spaghetti. You know, it's not all straight. It's not all, you know, it's noodling. It's all noodling.
It's noodling. Can I have mine with Alfredo?
I would like a little Alfredo, and cut up some chicken in it. Rustie, I've enjoyed having you on the show, and we're going to have to do these some more.
Yeah, I would like that. Thank you.
You have so much to offer. You've answered a lot of the questions, like what happens next, even though we didn't necessarily say, okay, well, what happened next? What happened next? What happened next?
Right.
But you're going through that. So this is a good start of a conversation. I know you myself. I know that you've gone through these things, and I also know that you have no problem sharing what you have gone through to help someone else. And throughout this conversation, you repeated that. We do need to advocate for each other. We need to think about someone more than ourselves. So this is just the beginning of the conversation. And I want you to be prepared to share more with the This Needs to Be Said audience, because while you're in Florida and I'm in North Carolina, the problem still remains the same. So we're going to have your information up at the end of the show so that people can follow your blog and know how to get in touch with you outside of This Needs to Be Said. But I just wanted to spend this last second saying thank you for being here.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. And it's so nice to see you. And you really have lost quite a bit of weight. You look good, girl.
Thank you.
Fun.
Well, to the This Needs to Be Said audience, we will see you next time. Have a super evening, and we hope that you gain something from the show. Until next time, have a super day.
This needs to be said. All the while we're keeping it real, yes. There's so much to be